Hi guys, I'm going to be doing a video. I am in bed, but I'm going to be telling you my labour and delivery story and what happened and everything like that. And so yeah. I probably already explained it like in one of the videos or something like that, but I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to upload my son just yet because of personal issues that are going on and that I don't want to discuss. But yeah, you'll see him soon enough on the channel whenever I feel like I want to upload him. So my labour and delivery story, I don't know, someone was giving me YouTube tips and they're like, do landscape, do portrait. I don't know, I like it this way. But anyway, so I went into the hospital at 29 weeks and 4 days, I think it was, with Braxton Hicks, which what I thought it was Braxton Hicks. They were actual contractions. I think I already done a video on this. I think I done a video on finding out I was pregnant, but like I added bits in. But this is gonna be the real deal. And they're like, yeah, that's definitely labour contractions. They weren't Braxton Hicks, and I was like 29 weeks, and I was like, okay. So they literally thought I was gonna deliver him that night, and I had to sign a lot of things in order to get like a C-section and stuff like that. You have to sign papers and stuff to say you consented, and they didn't just cut you open like without your consent. Maybe in like 16 and real small and real skinny and with my condition and everything, I knew he was gonna come early. I didn't sense that I would go overdue. Like my bump was tiny. If you follow me on Instagram, you know it was tiny, and I thought it was big, but no. So yeah, they made me sign a lot of things, and I was like, yeah, okay. Signed a lot of things. I was breathing through contractions with gas and air because I was like, they weren't sore, but I was like being dramatic, and I wanted to like do the full experience and all. I just looked back on that and I was like real tired, so I edited it and said I am tired. And you can hear background stuff as well. I was like, why not do it tomorrow? But yeah, I wanted to do it tonight because I have nothing to do. What else? Yeah, so I have pictures of me breathing through on the contractions with the gas and air, and I have the contractions as well and stuff like that. And basically they gave me steroids to stop labour, and they stopped labour, but obviously they kept me in. So I was kept in, and then I think it was a few days later that they stopped labour, and then I was still being monitored for the next day. I think I got 2 shots. So it was steroids and then a shot for his lungs, so I had to get that shot in the bum, and then I had IVs and stuff in me for his lungs, just in case he actually did come on that day, like. But they were just talking to me about him being in the NICU, and I think that was making me more nervous. And I was like, please don't talk to me, I'm in like early labour, just get out. To every nurse that kind of came in, I was so tired, like. And they were like, no, we need to talk to you about, he's going to be in the NICU if he comes early and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, just get it over and done with. Worst decision of my life. I wish he kind of stayed in there, because looking back on it now, like, yeah, it was just really dramatic seeing him in the like NICU and stuff like that. So that was like kind of upsetting, but that's what I meant by like, I wish he did kind of stay in a bit more, you know, fully developed and stuff like that, because yeah. So the contractions slowed down, and then they picked up a few days later when I got to around, I don't know how long I was in there for. I was in there since 29 weeks and some days, but like I got to 30 weeks, and then my friend came in and visited me at 30 weeks, and I was downstairs walking around, and the contractions just hit me like a brick. But the reason I had to stay in the hospital was because they done like a test, but it was like a smear test, so they done like a swab. So obviously if you know how a smear test works, they done that, and then it came back positive for early labour, So that's why I had to stay in the hospital, because I was having him. I wasn't going to leave like without having a baby. So anyway, my friends came in and we were like messing, like having the jokes and stuff down there in the lobby, and then like the contractions kept coming and going, and then I was like, look guys, I'm just gonna have to go up to bed. So I left them. This was on the 10th, so the day before he was born. So I left them and I went back to my room, and I was like, it was kind of, I don't know, it was really like sore, but I could handle them because they stopped. And as I mentioned, my anxiety gets worse when I'm around people, so I think that brought it on a little bit more. Me being downstairs with everyone around, and I was like, but then I let everyone go home because I was like, oh no, I'm not having a baby. So then I like got some sleep at like 12, but I was in like labour, so 12 at night, and then I woke up at 2. I was just like trying to get him to like turn so I wouldn't have to get a C-section, but he was lazy and didn't turn. So I was like trying to like walk around and stuff like that, and I went to the bathroom and like contractions were going like 90, but I didn't tell anyone. I was like, no, he's not coming tonight. And like I didn't feel anything, like I felt him kick and stuff, but he didn't turn. So I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and there was blood. So that means I lost my bloody show, or whatever you call it. So I didn't really tell anyone about that. Mind you, I wasn't even on the labour ward. I was on some ward where people were put on like when they're in like when their babies are gonna come early but they're not in labour. But I was in labour. Like, oh my god. So then I monitored contractions. Mind you, I was by myself because I said everyone can go home, I'm having a baby tonight. Monitored contractions until 5 a.m. I went back to the toilet, wiped again, lost a lot of blood, like this time it was a lot more. And I was so scared to call the nurse, and I was like, oh my god, no. And everything happened so fast because when I wiped, I brought the blood tissue out, and the nurse was doing her rounds, and I was like, girl, I just lost blood. And she was like, right, she was only training, so she was a really nervous nurse, and she was like, right, well, I'm gonna go get the trace and I'm gonna put it on you, and I'm gonna be like this and that, and she's like telling me not to panic, but she was there panicking, and I was like, so I didn't have to press any bell to have everyone come rushing around me at like 5 in the morning, because I wasn't willing to wake anyone else up in the room. I was like, no, but I'm pretty sure she was awake beside me, but I didn't even tell anyone. I was like so scared. So the nurse was doing her rounds anyway, and then she got the trace machine and she put it on me, and she was like, yeah, you're having contractions. She felt done the baby's heartbeat on the thing, got more of the nurses, and they came, and then like they checked my cervix, and I was 10 centimeters dilated. 10 centimeters dilated. Because I was like had all the adrenaline pumping around my body. I was like, the contractions were coming every 2 minutes. My water hadn't broke. He was breech. One of the nurses or midwives or whoever it was went and got a scan machine, and she scanned him, and she said he's breech and he had his hand down, so I couldn't have pushed him out because it was just too risky, so a C-section had to be done. They were just putting like compression socks on me and stuff like that, you know, the socks that you wear when you're like lying in the bed for ages so your blood flow doesn't stop. They were putting them on me, and they were like, no, just one wouldn't go on because they were really, really tight. Like, one wouldn't go on, and they were like, no, we'll just leave this. We have to rush her up to emergency C-section. I was like, mind you, I was 30 weeks and 2 days. 30 weeks and 2 days. So, basically, they couldn't even get the compression socks on. They were like, no, you need to ring whoever's your birthing partner and tell them to come in soon as. So it was like 6 o'clock, and I was up in theatre, and like the practice nurse that was there was like taking blood beside me and everything, and everyone was rushing and doing everything, and I was like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Like, was the baby getting stressed? I don't know, because I still to this day don't know what the hell they were all rushing for. My water didn't break in anyway. They never broke it, but I was 10 centimeters dilated. So I rang who I had to ring to come in and be my birthing partner, and they didn't get there. So first of all, I remember going into theatre on the bed, but I remember being in the lift, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this, to the nurse, and she was like, you'll be fine. So I don't even know who she was, but she was so nice. She was one of the student nurses that like went and told everyone that I was in labour. Had to take all my piercings out. Reason being was because, I don't know, you just have to take your piercings out when you're having a C-section. So now I don't have all my 4 piercings in it because I couldn't get them back in. My main focus was on my baby and stuff like that. So I was holding all the nurses' hands when I got in there. I was like, no, please help me. Like, meanwhile, when I was stood down in my labour, well, it wasn't even the labour ward, it was a ward where they keep patients, as I said. They were still trying to get me into the wheelchair, and I was having contractions, so I was having none of it. So they actually took the bed and put it in the lift and wheeled me up. And I was like, don't let me give birth without my birthing partner there, which was my stepmom. So I brought her in. I was holding all the nurses' hands. I had to get a spinal. Nobody was in the room with me when I was getting the spinal, only the doctors. So here's me being like, no, don't put anything in me until my stepmom and my dad and all come. But once that spinal was in, I did not feel anything, but I was still holding on to nurses' hands, and I was like, don't let them do anything before my stepmom gets here or anything like that, or until my stepmom gets here. Don't take him out and all that. So I was lying in the bed, I was just like, staring up at the ceiling, and the guy was like a different language, and he was like, are you having any contractions? And he meant muscle contractions with my condition. And like, because obviously if you jerked while you were getting all this like cut open or anything like that, I was like, yeah, I'm having contractions, but I didn't know what contractions he meant. Muscle contractions or contractions. It was all good. She got here in time. I don't even know what she was wearing, because I was awake for it and I can't remember it at all. So they cut me open. It felt like a lifetime. Then, like, mind you, I was naked going up to theatre. Like, I had no underwear on. They made me take everything off because they had to check how much dilated I was and all that. So I was on the bed, like, with my hospital gown on and then no underwear, and I was like ugh. And they were cutting me open, and I'm really particular about who sees down there, and I was like, no. After like 15 minutes of like cutting me open and pulling me around, I couldn't feel them pulling me, but my stepmom said that they were like tugging and everything. He was born at 7:03 a.m. on the 11th of October 2018, weighing 3 pounds and 8 ounces. He didn't cry for 20 seconds. I didn't know he was out of me because I was like, they put the big sheet up against you so you can't see anything. But my stepmom said he didn't cry for like 20 seconds. So then I heard him cry, and then I started crying myself, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a mom. They took my phone, and then they were like, they took pictures. First thing I said was, what colour is his hair? And is he okay? Like, I asked what colour was his hair. As soon as he came out, I was like, what colour is his hair? And then they took my phone and then they were cleaning them up and stuff like that. And they were all shouting, yeah, £3, 8, yep. And just shouting like stuff. And then they brought him over to me. And they put him beside my cheek and I gave him a kiss. And then they took him down to the NICU. Then basically that was really it. They kind of sewed me up or whatever with the stitches. They dissolve like in you, so it's like, yeah, they dissolved. And I thought the recovery for a C-section was pretty easy. Now everyone takes it differently, but mine was like I was walking within the day, like within the next day. Even though it was hard to like reach for things and stuff, I felt it was okay. It felt like a lifetime that they were sewing me up and all that stuff like that. But then eventually they got me sewed up and I was like, oh, thanks. Then they brought me down to recovery and I was grand. Like there was a girl that must have been put asleep for a C-section and they were trying to wake her up and all, and I was there beside her because it was a big recovery room. And they're like, come on now, let's wake up and all. I was like, why is she not waking up and all? But they were trying to just get me like the epidural or the spinal to wear off before they got me a room and everything. And then it took like 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours until I got my own room. And it was a private room. So they brought me down in the wheelchair to see my son. And he was in the incubator and he was tiny and oh my god. He was under the jaundice light when I came down because he had a bit of jaundice, or that's what they do with like premature babies and stuff like that, so I didn't get to properly see him or hold him or anything like that. The next day was better though, but then I was obviously pumping milk and stuff for him, like yeah, breastfeeding problem. But yeah, I really liked that, but then I got tired after 3 weeks and I stopped and got him on formula because I felt like it wasn't letting him kind of gain weight the way I wanted it to be, like. And when he was on formula I saw a big huge difference. It was really frustrating. Breastfeeding is frustrating. Well, pumping, because I like wasn't able to be like with him every second, so I was pumping milk for him, but I did get a lot. But then 3 weeks came along and I was starting to lose my appetite and stuff like that, and I was just getting upset and I was like, I can't do this anymore, it's just too hard. But in them 3 weeks he moved NICU, so he was in NICU 1, then he was in high dependency, then he was in a cot in the special care unit wearing clothes, so they didn't mind like putting him on formula, which was the plan from the beginning. I wasn't gonna ever breastfeed. I never really thought of doing that, like, but obviously I enjoyed pumping, so that could be took into consideration again if I have another child in the future. On my behalf, I keep yawning and it looks like I'm crying, but I'm not. On my behalf, I healed really well. I was up walking within the next day. Obviously it was sore, but like not as sore that I expected it to be. That was really it. If I can think of anything else that came up in the whole situation, I'll add it in. But he was tiny and like I was so scared of breaking him. Like I was like scared to dress him and stuff like that. And I recovered well. I'll insert a picture of my C-section scar if it's okay with YouTube guidelines, I don't know. But I recovered well and he's doing great. He's over 10 pounds now. He has a bit of colic, but that's okay. He's getting his food into him, that's the main thing. The C-section scar really low down as well, so it wasn't as if it's high up in my belly. It's like really low down, so you can't really see it. So if you're like not looking for it, obviously, but I appreciate the way they done it. They really done a really good job. So yeah, and they really looked after me in the hospital. Them nurses and social workers and stuff like that in the hospital, they really looked after me. So that was a really good thing, and yeah, I can't thank them enough. I won't be uploading Jaden just yet because I have a situation that I need to overcome before I upload anything. But if you want to go follow my Instagram, the picture's up on Instagram. It's Amy Dignam 16, and my Snapchat is Amy Dignam 12. I'll have them down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and leave a comment about your labour and delivery and how old were you when you got pregnant.